you know, really high priority junglers like the Vi very early on.
Yep. And that would fit really well in the wheelhouse of what ThunderTalk want to achieve. There's nothing like a Nefiri that would make the Vi's execution asked to be very, very high. However, ThunderTalk are prioritizing the misfortune instead.
Yeah. Big takeaway as Asum has played a majority of his champions on MF, or a majority of his games so far in 2025 on this MF. So understandable, a very good takeaway, and does mean that we're going to have to see some kind of melee setup. How much are they really going to have to buy into this, as immediately FPX, they just take the 1-2 combo, Ahri Vi as a 2v2, yep. Very dangerous and something we keep on seeing.
What do ThunderTalk want to pair with this? Usually you see support combos like the Rel, but if the Rel gets locked in, then I imagine that FPX would slam an instant Alistar. So, but it's still all about the wombos. Skarner's still available. It's actually getting dropped. Beichuan opting in for a little bit of extra early skirmish power.
Neither of these junglers have really prioritized the Skarner, so not too surprising to see. We are getting SeTab on the rise here, a champion that outside of his melee speciality has been kind of interesting. So TT really want to be able to play around the map very fast. Rise is also going to have a lot of access to HP, so another beefy champion to allow for Misfortune to kind of get all of her damage down. FPX, however, so I get the idea. Yes, we're giving Sheer his Jace, which is really nice. I think from TT, if with this Misfortune, we are going to be focusing on getting rid of champions like the Braum and the Leona is what I would have to expect. Maybe even looking towards some of the uncomfortable AD carry matchups and stuff like the Ashe.
Yeah. What else could you pick? I guess if Awesome wants to play for utility, Jhin is another viable answer as well. Oh, good pick up on the Callista. Wouldn't have remembered that. Just were so all
I
in
would
on...
not want to pick Callista into this game anyway. Callista into Rai sounds extremely miserable, and into Shinzao, it's not very fun. Even the laning phase can kind of be flipped because of Misfortune double up passive. So getting rid of Sion and getting rid of Ambessa. Is this like we're probably setting up for some kind of tank top laner here? It seems like the Sion matchup would be very good, especially with how Hoya has been able to play some of these weak side matchups. I think you still have to be afraid of, I mean, even the Gnar, the Ornn potentially coming in.
Well, Sheer has not gone for the Gnar this time around with the Jays, so I'm trying to think of what other top laners would be a nuisance for Jace to deal with. This would be really bold if FPX wanted to just all in on a dive composition, but there it is, Kai'Sa. Now you know exactly one direction FPX want to go in, and it is forward.
It's, I think, going to be very interesting to see how they play around terrain and play around Fog of War with these champions, because, like you're saying, they do have the makings of a dive composition, but Alistar still very strong here for this 2v2, as well as, you know, being able to headbutt one of these members away. And with TT, I feel like they are so poised at being able to receive a gank. You have the Xin Zhao, who can be very tanky. Again, the Rise as well. Now Gragas and Nautilus. This feels absolutely perfect to play into what FPX are showing.
It does feel a little disjointed and not the most harmonious by having a Gragas and a Misfortune linked together. But I think ThunderTalk are just reacting to the fact there is literally so much dive that if there is not a champion they lock in that is able to disengage the clump like that, then 1xN is just going to get popped anyway. So I can kind of respect where the line of thinking is.
Yeah, I think this is mostly just going to be a Gragas that is not necessarily used to engage, but the ultimate anyway is mostly just going to be able to disincentivize going straight into the backline.
Yep.
Like, if Vi and Ahri are going in with the Kai'Sa, well, now there's an ultimate that completely blocks everybody. But that does mean we need to see the execution of it, right? Because we just came off of a game where a Poppy knocks away a target that potentially could have died, right? And we've seen this plenty of times. TT have not been the sharpest when it comes to their execution in game, so we need to see them play strong early game around this Misfortune. Can they move her around the map, and how are they leveraging 1xN and his ability to delete minion waves? And for FPX, can they play a composition that is pretty one note, but still has to be able to play on very certain timers and playing on certain skill shots, especially with this Ahri charm?
A lot for both of these teams to take away from this matchup here. Definitely one of the series where very winnable for either squad here. A lot of more tougher competition in this group. This is a match where FunPlus Phoenix or ThunderTalk Gaming would really benefit from taking one of the easier wins than instead of going up against the Titans and the really big giants of this group Ascend here. Both teams are locked and ready to go. Game 1 between FunPlus Phoenix and ThunderTalk Gaming. Let's hit the rift.
Big matchup here. We're waiting for some of those Jayos to come on through. And again, these are teams that we are expecting to be 7th and through 10th here in Group Ascend. They need to battle their way up and show that they really earn their spot here amongst the top 10 teams of the LPL.
Early ward placed here by FPX, just making sure that there wasn't any cheese coming out from ThunderTalk to put Sheer behind. And the Jayos now from the crowd rooting on for
FPX. We're gonna have to work. We're gonna have to work on that one, boys. FPX TT fans, we need to come out back and forth. I don't know what that was. We will.
Hey man,
we will revisit this topic.
They're supporting their team. You know what? Maybe the NIP stadium was a long trek for them. I think they're still in.
They're in a different stadium.
Oh, they're in a different stadium.
Yeah, they're in the default stadium that we have in Shanghai. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe the fans are in a different city. It was just too far away.
Yes, all the FPX fans were like, yeah, I'm going to go over to Shenzhen real quick to go watch the first game. And then hopefully my team is still playing by game 3.
Who knows, man? It's like, shoot. I thought all the teams were going to play here today.
Well, hopefully none of them made that mistake. But we do have junglers now starting on opposite sides. We're going to pretend like I didn't just see that from Feather. Oh. What are we doing? Why do we already have the barrier down? Huh?
Wow. I'm stun locked. I'm not gonna lie. The first the wide dredge line and then Jwei headbutting 1xN and just the knee-jerk reaction to pop the barrier. I'm wow. Hey guys, Shadow. If I'm awesome and Jwei, I'm pinging. Hey, Misfortune just burned a barrier. He's
I'm just very confused because Misfortune Nautilus are going to have so much more laning power versus a Kai'Sa and an Alistar. Alistar level 1 is notoriously very weak, and Kai'Sa, unless she gets extended trades, is never really going to be that dangerous to deal with, especially early on. So, kind of confused. It seems like TT are going to try to get an early crash here and prep for a dive on 4. Beichuan is finishing his camps on the bottom side of the map here, so potential is set up for them. I think that a dive on the top lane is going to be very difficult for FPX. This is a Gragas that still has flash, but it is looking to probably TP back considering already kind of low on resources.
Yo, Awesome and Jwei are kind of finding some really nice trade windows onto 1xN. This is looking a little dangerous for the bottom side of the map. Meanwhile, SeTab and Care, very volatile mid lane. Orbit Deception doesn't find the second. Oh, SeTab flashing in, but the Charm is going to find the one auto. Oh, they both die! Absolute cinema in the mid lane, bro.
It's First Blood, does go over to Rise, but again, First Blood doesn't actually matter when you talk about, you know, the new feats of strength. They remove the bonus First Blood. So good stuff coming in from both of our mid laners. SeTab being a bit over-aggressive there, but we get to see early setup. Again, this is something we have seen from SeTab time and time again on this Rise so far this year, is his willingness to just go for flash plays, go for flash rune prisons very early on. So It's going to just be a trade of summoner spells. This does slightly advantage Ahri, as a no-flash target is very, very susceptible to gank, and we'll have to see if Kara and Shadow can try to punish this within the next 3 minutes.
Yeah. I will say, Shadow knows that Ryze doesn't have flash anymore either, so it should be a lot easier for him to line up a Vault Breaker flash if he can squeak in a roam towards the mid lane sometime soon. He is on his second rotation of the full clear right now, making his way through the bottom side of the map.
Okay, so TT going to try to utilize their bottom lane and how fast they're able to push. They're already here first thanks to resetting first, which does mean that they do have access to playing these grubs in a minute's time. I think the problem that I am seeing is that we're actually kind of reinforcing Sheer here, and with Shadow having all of his camps on the top side of the map, this looks more so like TT are trying to prevent grubs and buy time for Beichuan to grab himself the dragon in about 30 seconds time after finishing some of his camps.
I think it also benefits both Awesome and Sheer, because Awesome now gets to lane into a melee champion. Doesn't have to deal with the laning bully prowess of Misfortune. Even though, to their credit, they were actually kind of finding a way to get back in there, but 1xN and Feather just getting the shove in onto a double melee matchup. Trying to open up the priority for these grubs. Hasn't spawned yet in the next 30 seconds, but as you called it out, Beichuan on the bottom side of the map, just ensuring that Shadow doesn't go for an early dragon steal. He's not even there. He's on the top side of the map, full clearing to his heart's content.
We're diving this guy. Yeah, this guy literally has no ultimate. This is what I was worried about. I thought as the Gragas player here, Mark, you would know we're killing 80 carries here, brother.
Opens up with the body slam. I mean, an early barrier. There's not much you can do. Yeah, that seemed way too easy. Meanwhile, Jwei trying to get a jump on the Feather, but the immediate flash on the Nautilus ensures that he is able to escape any certain death from the setup there. But nicely done from ThunderTalk to punish Awesome in the bot lane.
Yeah, this is the problem that I had, is just like, yeah, you're reinforcing them on the top side, but now you're leaving Awesome to play by themselves. I think maybe either spending too much time in the top lane. Great cancel coming in from Feather. Oh, now we even get the Realm Warp.
SeTab
Wait a
coming
minute.
in with the Realm Warp. Oh, they could be in trouble, but really great pulverize from Jwei. Slows it down, but forced to flash away.
All right, buying some time. It is now the Dragon going over to FPX. Weren't able to make too many plays, and in trade for giving over a kill onto Awesome does mean that they're able to grab themselves the first objective of the game. And while we didn't get to see the side of ThunderTalk really get all that much onto the top side, I think the fact that you did trade a lot of summoners in both Jwei and Sheer is something that is going to be able to be revisited and hopefully gives them priority over these top side grubs.
Yeah. Appreciate that SeTab is already trying to be proactive and find windows here. Obviously, no kills netted, but decent summoner advantage that should now make it a lot easier for ThunderTalk to get all three of these grubs without any contest. Shadow, once again, nowhere near the side of the objective where ThunderTalk are trying to play for. They did manage to secure themselves the first dragon of the game. We'll see if that's something, realistic win condition they can continue to play for. I want to go back to what are the realistic spikes for FPX's composition, because as you said before, it definitely seems like FPX, while one note, they have a stronger composition to execute, and it just comes down to when they're able to play on those spikes.
So for FPX, obviously, like 1 and 2 items is for a majority of the roster going to look good. We might have to hold this as there is going to be a dive. How much can TT actually get away with here? Because if this dive doesn't work, you already see they're getting mid-prio. SeTab is now cheating over into the top side. They're going to try to even pressure off Awesome and Jwei from the top lane. And they traded some camps here, but is Jwei really going to be able to survive?
He doesn't have flash anymore. He just dinged level 6, so he's going to have the ultimate for the damage reduction. But Awesome is contemplating whether he wants to join the fray here. Throws out a Void Seeker, is able to clean up one minion here. And you know what? ThunderTalk are just going to call it off. They don't think it's worth it to dive an Alistar with ultimate.
Okay, so they were able to at least stop Awesome from picking up at least one of these minion waves, so accentuating that gold lead that we were talking about for 1xN and Feather. And kind of revisiting the topic that you were talking about before, because of the Ahri change in terms of her build going for the Rod of Ages and the Liandry's, she's going to be really powerful on 2 and 3 items just by way of having to wait for the Rod of Ages. And that is, I think, at odds with where this team composition wants to go. When we talk about scaling, you're going to be playing up against the Ryze. You do have the Kai'Sa, which does give you some angles, but you are really reliant on making sure that you get that part of the dive composition working, that you're actually able to assault into the backline with this Vi. Those first items are going to be so powerful for a champion like Vi with the Sundered Sky and going either into the Sterix or the Black Cleaver. Same thing with Jwei here. So we really need to see how they're able to play against this Ryze coming in versus ThunderTalk, because he eventually will just have so much mana and so much priority to be able to walk around wherever he wants on the map that I think it's difficult for FPX to be able to deal with.
Well, so far, the one Realm Warp that SeTab did find just netted in a summoner advantage that ThunderTalk haven't necessarily been able to revisit, but they've been at least been able to play a decent pressure game in making Awesome's laning phase experience not so pleasant, and a constant cheating towards the top side of the map where Awesome and Jwei were trying to collect waves as they now find themselves in the mid lane up against Feather and 1xM, both of the duos now trying to be in the center of the map. We've got Dragon coming up in 1 minute and 23 seconds time, same as the second rotation of Grubs. Curious to see where the team's priorities are going to be positioned towards.
Both of the mid laners do have teleport, so while they are on the top side of the map, they could very easily try to join up for this play. I think for me, I would really like to see FPX try to prioritize getting these grubs. Obviously, we talked about how important every single time we look at these games, like grubs are just such a key objective, and so being able to prevent the spawn of the Void Mites. Uh-oh, Feather! Okay, well, that's Flash. Not too much of a trade, but losing half of your HP before the setup of an objective does make this a bit difficult. But like I was saying before, being able to take that, and for a team that has such potent side laners in the Ahri and the Jace, I would really like to see them be able to get these objectives. So, kind of already seeing them make a move towards the bottom side of the map, however.
Yeah. I can't believe Jwei just walked up slowly and down smashed Feather like that. That was crazy. And Feather didn't react at all. It just gave him free pulverize. But, all right. Well, now Nautilus down a flash. Jwei has his own flash back up. Shadow now arriving on the bottom side of the map just in time before this dragon spawn. This really does seem like FPX are really committed to the dragon stacking, and that will open up a window where ThunderTalk should be able to get at least all 6 grubs here.
Okay, so in theory, if you think about how in side lanes they should be able to operate, Jace should relatively have a pretty hard time trying to kill the Gragas. It is going to be very reliant on Hoya actually landing skills, and in side lane you can try to kind of shadow the Gragas and get a little bit of chip damage away before, you know, kind of sending in Beichuan and SeTab to overload one side with Realm Warp. But now with 6 grubs, I feel like TT are in a really good spot in this game. I mean, you're going to be able to hit turrets. You have this Misfortune who already does a hell of a lot of damage anyway, and now we're seeing this. They're setting up for a dive.
I mean, similar to NIP, ThunderTalk are trying to use all 6 grubs by overloading, even if some of the side laners are not the most proficient in being able to attack turrets super fast. Sheer is already doing a lot of work by himself, and he doesn't have 6 grubs. He has 2 dragons, but FPX able to at least bring a decent amount of reinforcements to the top lane so that ThunderTalk are dissuaded on looking for the dive. But now, SeTab all isolated by himself. The charm and the cease and desist, the full combo from Jwei's Alistar as he flashes in to guarantee the stun. FPX locked down SeTab, but Shadow flashing away as his teleport is coming in just a little too slow from Hoya's Gragas, and there is nothing gained from the side of ThunderTalk.
I'm going to be honest, I think SeTab just got sold out by his support. Feather was sitting in the dot brush. He thought, okay, maybe it's still safe there. They're going to revisit this top lane wave now. Again, 6 grubs. Plates are about to go down. Misfortune will be here first, unless we get a Kai'Sa flying with the Killer Instinct.
I mean, Sheer still has teleport. He's been getting at least a wave to himself, if not a second one. The flash charm from Care will find another pick on the Feather. The bullet time just does nothing against FPX, and now he's got a Crescent Guard to keep things hot here for Beichuan. Uh-oh, Awesome got isolated. Jwei was trying to run out alive, but doesn't make it out, and ThunderTalk able to at least trade 2 kills here. Care teleporting out just so he can get out alive. I don't think Shadow's going to be able to escape certain death here. But still, all this time, Sheer is getting 3 waves all to himself.
He's got it.
He gets first brick.
Yeah, so now they still lose out on the feats of strength. Sheer is going to eventually go down here to 1xn, and I just think, like, so many things went wrong here for the side of TT. I loved what we got to see from Jwei in there, stopping the bullet time very early on, so tough marks here for ThunderTalk. They will lose the feats of strength, and I think FPX are feeling very comfortable with where they are in the game. I just want to see Jwei again. Like, this Misfortune ult should have got so much done here, but Jwei just walks right into the back line, headbutt away. Who cares? Now I can just disrupt the entire back line. And FPX do, I think, stay a little too long. We eventually get to see SeTab and the rest of TT make this play onto Awesome. But, like, just now Sheer is really far ahead at this point, like you were noting. And we'll have to see if Sheer can kind of leverage this advantage. I think this is a hard game to play Jayce into. You're playing against the Ryze, you're playing into the Gragas. There are a lot of question marks as to whether or not this young gun in the top lane is going to be able to really have those 1v9 performances.
You know, Sheer may have had a bit of an oopsie in the 1v1 side select earlier on before the series, but now he's got the keys to the kingdom. He's been able to get a chance to pick up the Shojin first. He's got the tier stacking up for that Muramana later on. This is a very accelerated Jayce, and if we can even get a percentage of Bin's Jayce and what Sheer will bring to the table, I think ThunderTalk are in a world of trouble going into the mid game.
Yeah, you know, if my top laner was also Bin, probably feeling really good about Jayce in general. So, gonna be interesting to see. Again, Sheer was someone that kind of came into a really big spotlight last year, joining a JDG roster that unfortunately was not able to have the same high highs as they did in 2023. Eventually did lose the starting spot to Flandra, just in terms of they wanted that level of experience, but Sheer has had, I think, a lot of great games here in the LPL so far, and has been one of the, you know, shining stars in an FPX roster that hasn't had the best start to 2025. Oh God, Care. That was a clean cleanse, clean charm coming in from him.
Yeah, if that charm did not hit Beichuan, he was definitely gonna die, if not force the Spirit Rush out of there, but he is able to preserve the ultimate. Jwei thinking about the Hex Flash, doesn't go for it over the wall. 5,000 HP on the Rift Herald. Care still lurking around on the left side, looking for that flank in the Pitzer. Who's the target here? I imagine it's 1xn. Hoya with the barrel, punts him away, and Jwei is isolated. Yeah, he popped the ultimate, but he's not going to get that much value. Shadow tries to go in for the smite steal. Doesn't happen. Beichuan secures it. Bullet time will finish off Sheer, and the Jayce doesn't get any value. And now
what are we doing?
The Realm Warp, I don't know what's happening on FPX's side. They just completely collapsed.
Yeah, SeTab was screening Care that entire time. Why are we waiting for the Rift Herald to go down? I get that Shadow was probably just going for a steal, but why are we as Care walking into that pit, using our ultimate, and then still ultimately dying? FPX now lose the second or the first Rift Herald. They'll lose this dragon that's now spawning, and that dragon soul stacking that was potentially in their back pockets is just completely gone. And with the grubs as well, TT are going to have an explosion of gold. They're going to go from barely in the lead to 5,000 here.
Yeah. The Rift Herald doesn't quite find the charge, but they're still going to get a decent amount of damage down. And ThunderTalk, you know, for all the concerns about the overgrouping and dropping the waves over to Sheer, that fight was supposed to be the first big moment where it's like, okay, you gave Jayce a lot of free time in the bot lane. Are you going to get punished for it? And he just gets completely obliterated in this side lane.
Yeah, look at the top side of the map. Like, Care is just nowhere near this fight. I loved what we got to see from Hoya on this Gragas. I think he just made it so impossible for FPX to walk in, because you're going to have to get slowed, and then you're dealing with potentially a Gragas ultimate as well. And then just the rest of this fight, like, why as FPX are we walking in? It's a free fight for TT, and now they come out of the replay 4,000 gold up. They've got a dragon to their name. They've got 6 grubs as well, and they were already a team that we said that as the game does go on, you're kind of looking at this Gragas to have a lot of value as well. This Ryze is going to get more and more difficult to deal with. I don't know what FPX are thinking. I just feel like they lost a lot of that early aggression and the direction that they had.
Yeah, it definitely seems like when we saw them against IG, they were so decisive. They were so not very hesitant is what I'm basically trying to say in a lot of their decision making. I mean, we saw that on the pick on SeTab, but yeah, the Rift Herald fight, definitely a glimpse where FPX very uncertain in what they wanted to do. Now, maybe a collapse here. Shadow will find 1xN, linking up with Awesome on the kill.
Oh, Jwei!
Jwei finds a multi-man pulverize, and that is boldness from the side of FPX. That is decisiveness as Jwei will interrupt the realm warp. No escape will happen from ThunderTalk, and the concerns may just be alleviated.
Oh my god, Jwei and Shadow save the game on the spot there with their individual play. It's 30 seconds before Otacon. I don't know what FPX are going to be able to get off of this. It'll be a little bit more of the minion waves. I think they just need to clear these minions, move back, go back into base, and get ready for the next play, because this Otacon is potentially going to be something that we're going to see both of these teams jockey for position over. As we take a look in Fog of War, Flash find over onto 1xN, and he's immediately out of this fight. And then Jwei with this Alistar 4-man knockup. And it's this play right here that kind of is just the cherry on top, the icing all over the cake here, as he gets a single pulverize to stop the escape of ThunderTalk. Really good job of being able to punish this team for overextending, and we were just talking about how decisive we needed to see from FPX. We haven't actually seen them perform too many of successful dives that we had, you know, kind of prescribed for this team coming out of draft, and that felt like the first time we got a 5-on-5 where they actually did what exactly we wanted to see and what their champions are capable of.
Yeah, now FPX have to find a way to bully their way back into the river before the dragon does spawn. It would be their third dragon of the game. ThunderTalk managing to secure the real third dragon of the game. This one being the fourth, and could have been, you know, in a different reality, soul point for FPX, but ThunderTalk making it competitive. Gold lead, pretty much even across the board. Still minor gold advantages for a majority of ThunderTalk's side. Still the major advantage in Sheer's own pockets. He has completed that Mora mana fully stacked, but to Hoya's credit, he's also got a second item in that Cosmic Drive. The bullet time used by 1xN just to clear the wave, and Beichuan on the left flank looking for Care. Lands the wind, becomes lightning. Spirit Rush has to be used by Care.
Okay, thankfully, Spirit Rush is a very low cooldown, so probably will be up in time for this dragon. Care, if I am you, start spamming this ability, because you need all of the stacks gone if you want to try to make sure that it is up and available for this next play. There is going to be a pretty decent spike. I wonder if SeTab will be able to spend enough mana to get there. He is 60 away from his Seraphs, and you know, we're talking about item spikes. I will say upfront damage is in favor of ThunderTalk. I think the fact that Miss Fortune already has an Infinity Edge and the Bloodthirster, she will just have so much more damage to offer the team as well. And you're thinking about how unstoppable this Rise can be. Rod of Age is fully stacked, now has the Seraphs almost completed. So we are looking at ThunderTalk. If they can get first position into the bottom side river, they should be able to secure this dragon. But FPX have a lot of tools to be able to start fights, and so how TT control terrain and how they control vision and chokes is going to be pivotal as to whether or not they can continue to succeed in this game.
Given that ThunderTalk's damage profile is pretty bursty, for the most part, they also have items that make them very deceptively durable too. Like the Seraph Shields, once it pops, you know, you get a little bit of extra.
Since that was always a very durable one with his ultimate.
Yeah, Crescent Guard, yeah. And the fact that it's a Bloodthirster Rush of Misfortune, if you don't get completely 100 to 0, you can sustain yourself back up in the fight. Is now FPX trying to encircle this Dragon Pit.
Okay, so no flash for Beichuan or 1xN right now. Shadow is spotted here. We're already seeing SeTab playing very smart on the wave right now. Go mid, you also have this Realm Warp. So we'll see how FPX are going to be able to secure this. Eyes now on Hoya.
Ooh, Care lunging forward for Hoya with the charm, but kind of missed that Spirit Rush as Hoya is able to dodge it with the body slam. He's getting a lot of prio right now in mid lane. He's going to pressure for the tier 2 turret if FPX do not decide this cleanly. 2,000 HP. Oh, it got close to 900, but Shadow secures it. Now the fight begins. Another knockup by Jwei, but he's in the thick of it. And Shadow, or Beichuan, I should say, trying to force Sheer out of the fight. Shadow tries to go forward, looking with the cease and desist, but he's got no backup. Awesome now goes in, but just a little too late. It's not synced up for FPX, and the Realm Warp will collapse onto Care's body. ThunderTalk with the ace.
Well, FPX now say in 4.5 minutes we have the chance to be able to fight back into this game, play for a little bit of a later game here, And TT, they lose the dragon, but they'll grab themselves the fight and ace as well as being able to pick up a Otacon. So
I misspoke.
They're gonna, yep, they are going to have so much of an advantage here. Look at how many Otacons they have. I mean, they're gonna get so many blood. Oh, it's actually the revive. That looked like it was a misskin. That looked like it was supposed to be Ruinous Otacon, but whatever. Okay.
Yeah, Sheer did survive, so technically not an ace. My bad on the call, but you know what? It was so damn convincing. It felt like an ace. I'm a little disappointed
Feather's
that Sheer's not
here,
getting that much value on this Jace, dude.
I thought that the ultimate here from Feather was actually going to set up Hoya to go in because almost all of the members are just stopped. Sheer's trying to buy space for his team, but it just feels like FPX, we're just waiting too long to pull the trigger. Like, as soon as they walk into range of us, we should be snapping onto the Misfortune, stopping her from getting the bullet time. It just feels too little, too late here for FPX. And now 3,000 gold down, 25 minutes in. The only thing that they have going for them is this dragon that is spawning in 3 minutes time. How much can TT get away with? They can do a lot of damage on the map with 6 grubs and the Otacon revive for the next minute and a half. It's going to be very tough for FPX to actually even get into a position where they can comfortably contest this objective.
For ThunderTalk fans, this is definitely a sight for sore eyes, and you know, coming off of a more middling placement stage performance, off of a devastating sweep against BLG, obviously not being able to live up to the split 1 overperformance that may have happened, but ThunderTalk, at least against an opponent like FPX, who coming in through the placement stage, through the qualifiers as one of the 2 third seeds, that is, you know, in some instances, you might say lucky to be here. FPX definitely showing a really strong performance in IG series yesterday. Definitely not the same FPX today. And ThunderTalk reaping the rewards of kind of that realization.
You say TT fans, I'm looking at Beichuan, man. He wants to prove that, you know, should have not, at least if not stayed on the FPX roster, that, you know, he made good on the divorce there between him and Care. So... Again, Beichuan finding himself on the opposing end of having to play against FPX. Obviously, it's been a couple years since we saw him, but coming up through FPX Blaze as a trainee and having some time on the main roster in the LPL, obviously wants to try to make it happen versus his teammate in Care previously. So we're starting up around the Baron here. Oh, Shadow. Oh, no.
Shadow took a Q into darkness, thinking that he was going to find something better than what he actually ended up getting, and Hoya just punishes freely. No jungler now for the side of FPX, and this is a free Baron for the side of ThunderTalk.
He saw the light. He was like, oh, I'm going into darkness. I'm getting us out of the fog of war, and the light was just a little too bright. It ended up being the heavenly gates going on through. So Shadow going down, like you said, the white pearly lights. So
no, the light was a little too thick for Shadow to handle. You cannot step to the Gragas when he's like in this, brother. I mean,
yeah, level 16. You are a very, very risky Vi. You're a very small, fragile Vi in this instance. So now they're coming into this spot mark. They just lost Baron, and they put so much of their vision and kind of pressure towards the top side of the map that now they can't even enter the bottom side. You're going to be seeing TT push out on this bottom lane wave. They still have 6 grubs, so as long as they keep up this Baron, it should be impossible for FPX to now kind of walk into the bottom side river. And I think that the hopes of a Hextech Soul are, for the time being, going to be dashed, at least for the next 2 while this Baron buff is up and alive.
I mean, the crazy thing is that ThunderTalk technically have a 7,000, 8,000 gold advantage over FPX, but when you look at the item completions from FPX, they're somewhat even. There's 3 items on Kai'Sa, there's 3 items on Sheer, but yet it comes down to the execution. Maybe they can link it up this time on a 1xN. 3 divers, they find the Misfortune this time around. Can FPX clean up the rest? Here comes Feather trying to create space for SeTab, and SeTab is just ripping through them all with the powers of magic. The runes, they've spoken, and they say FPX, you lose.
Oh, man. There's the Baron. There's 6 grubs. It is just Care by himself. And I think, like you said, Rise has decided that this game is over for TT.
Care's going to try to do his best, but without a Spirit Rush, without a Flash, and the power of 6 grubs and Baron, They're going to get the Nexus Tower, but you know what? ThunderTalk don't feel bold enough to close the game out now. They're going to go for the guaranteed dragon to make sure that they deny soul point again from FPX. They still have a Baron buff for the next 55 seconds, but it's now a 9,000 gold advantage for ThunderTalk. I can't help but feel, but this is all over.
Yep, and we get to take a look again at this replay. I think Shadow just going a little too far. Again, we get to finally see them make this play onto 1xN, but look at now where the rest of your team is. Care and Jwei are kind of sitting in front. Really good body block here from Hoya to stop Jwei from finding an engage. And the rest of this just doesn't seem like, yeah, you put a lot of your eggs trying to kill 1xN, but SeTab has reached that point in the game where this Rise is nigh unkillable, does 1,000,000 damage a moment, and even if he wants, he's going to have a death cap coming in very soon if he's able to pick up a little bit more gold, but I just don't think it's going to matter, right? You have 8 seconds before this kind of falls, you still have the Zonias, teammates are going to come on through, last fight here for FPX.
One Hail Mary maybe left in the tank, and oh my goodness, Sheer just died. He sent it to the skies, and he buried his own grave. And now FPX are down to a 3-man against the full 5-man frontal assault of ThunderTalk, who can just lay down the hammer and lay in the damage. ThunderTalk continuing to roll down the deaths one by one. Care and Awesome, the only members left standing on FunPlus Phoenix, but the base will not get defended today, as ThunderTalk just waiting on the next minion wave to end it all.
They've got a minion wave top, and if that doesn't work, well, hey, you got another one in mid and in bottom lane here. We thought FPX were going to be favorites coming into this, but hasn't looked like it.
ThunderTalk, an impressive Game 1 performance will open up the series, and they'll take the lead.
Okay, so some doubts that we had. Maybe the death of ThunderTalk a bit exaggerated after their performance yesterday and coming to kind of fight up against some other teams that we expect for them to have to battle for their spot, for any kind of improvement here in Group Ascend. And TT back to their winning ways yet again here from Split 1.
Shout out to Hoya and SeTab. I know that playing against BLG yesterday was very difficult, and they got gapped. But once again, we have to say, getting gapped by Bin and Knight is nothing to be ashamed of. Those are some of the best players that the LPL has ever sent internationally. They were 2-time LPL champions throughout all of 2024, the undisputed champions throughout that entire season. So ThunderTalk, come into this series and say, hey guys, you know what? We're no longer playing against, one of the season's favorites, one of the split favorites. Let's play to our strengths. Let's trust in the calls that we make. And to their credit, even the over-grouping that they made and the side lane farm that they dropped over to Sheer, I mean, Hoya didn't care. He proved to be way more impactful on this Gragas pick than Sheer was able to bring on his chase.
I also just think we never got to see very many early plays from the side of FPX. Like, we were missing, some of the early dives. I think the fact that we saw Awesome actually die at level 4, level 5 on that bot lane play really slowed the game down in favor of TT. And, I mean, the fact of the matter is that in a game where we're really reliant on Shadow and Care to get a lot of some of the dirty work done, they didn't actually come to play, at least this time around. Jwei was kind of the only person that was kind of making any kind of forward movement. So I feel bad because like Sheer and kind of we got to see Sheer and also try their hardest to have carry performances, but we didn't get to see the movers and shakers of FPX really get much better.
Yeah. I'm curious now, what do FPX do when going back to the drawing board for the second draft? Because like we said, we kind of talked about some of the concerns of the pitfalls of this composition. Very one note, you are trying to just all in on diving the backline, and to their credit, they were able to achieve that a couple of times, but they didn't do it enough times where they were able to amass a gold lead that by guaranteeing Misfortune being gone meant that you could carry out the rest of the fight. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case because, yeah, the Misfortune dies, but this Rise is super fed, and the Rise can just rip through the entire team afterwards.
Yeah, Rise, he hit his 2-item power spike, and we got to see SeTab actually focus down more on this play. I was kind of looking at whether or not we were going to get a pretty good performance from SeTab. I think sometimes his Rise has looked a little bit wishy-washy, but in this game, he had a really strong idea of what he needed to do. He recognized that the onus was on this Ahri to get a lot of stuff done early on, and just another good game coming in from ThunderTalk. And again, I like the point that you had highlighted, the solo lanes here of ThunderTalk getting a lot of work done.
Stepping up to the plate here in a match where the competition shouldn't be as oppressive in previous circumstances. And for FPX's credit, once again, there was some instances where they were able to find some counteractive plays on the ThunderTalk early, but just not understanding or being able to adapt on the fly the limits here. I think this was probably the most condemning play of FPX in the early game. They just did not know what they wanted out of this Rift Herald fight.
Yeah, that felt pretty bad. That was another fight where we were looking at someone like Hoya. He's a really good space control with the Gragas, so was really proud to see that he's able to kind of hold his composure, because part of why they lost against BLG was there were some spots where, you know, they were in contention to kind of play a fair game, but they kind of lost their cool, didn't have the best fights. And of course, the best parts of the game for FPX were when they actually made true on the promises of their draft, which was strong snap engages from their jungle and mid, and trying to punish the fact that TT is a bit immobile in certain spots. So I really want FPX to go back to the drawing board, kind of dumb it down a little bit. I know that we were talking about before that for FPX, the fact that in the coaching change and with Awesome coming in, I think they needed to dumb and simplify the game for this team to be able to play the map a little bit better. And this time around, they had a very straightforward composition, but unfortunately, we're not able to kind of get it all done, and kind of fell to their own feet there.
Well, they won't have to worry about trying it again on the same champion setup this in the next game at least. But there's still things like I wonder if, I know you mentioned Skarner's not necessarily a shadow champion nor Beichuan champion, but that was a champion that was kind of let through the entire ban phase. Multi-man Impale is kind of hard to mess up, especially if we're getting a lot of scenarios
I
like
saw
this.
Monkey. I saw Monkey on Team WE get away with a free win. So let's hold off on the how difficult Skarner tech is before we.
Okay, I mean, the context is that, you know, a lot of the times these fights are clumped up and a lot of people grouping up. But anyway, I digress. ThunderTalk, once again, solo lane stepping up huge. 1xN, even if he wasn't necessarily, like, getting to be the star of this game, he got to leverage a champion that gave them laning power and early priority. They got all 6 scrubs. ThunderTalk committed to over-indexing on trying to get a lot of early towers, over-grouping. They, you know, took the gambit of giving some extra solo time to Sheer in the side lane, and they just straight up, majority of the time, play the team fights better. And if hopefully for ThunderTalk, that's a form that they continue to be able to perform with in the series
Hopefully.
and the rest of the season.
Yeah, that'll be something that we kind of look forward to as for ThunderTalk and FPX. These are matches that are kind of must win. I know that we do have double elim or double round robin here, but when we are saying that you are supposed to be very close in the standings, we need to see a lot more, and you are battling for your spot here in Group Ascend. It's not like you can drop out or anything, but I think it is so important when there's a very high realistic probability you are going to be playing against some of the best in Group Nirvana, and that means that your spots for playoffs are on the line.
All right, player of the game. Who's getting it? I'm saying one of the solo laners. Oh, it's Beichuan.
They gave it for the, I told you, man, they gave it for the Beichuan versus FPX. They're in line. They know the storylines.
They know the narrative. All right, very based. All right, let's wrap it up. Let's get ready for game 2, y'all. When we come back, it'll be the second game, and we'll see if ThunderTalk will be able to close out the series, or if FunPlus Phoenix will get a chance to strike back. See you on the other side.